There are so many different ways to connect with God. And as much as I love temple worship, it is the intimacy of home worship that has brought a sense of peace and stability into my life. Not through doing something grand, but by paying attention to the small things, the little variations, the meanings behind what we do. Yesterday was Mohini Ekadashi, and I found myself thinking firstly about the word Ekadashi itself. Eka meaning one, Dasha meaning 10. Together they become 11, the 11th day of the lunar fortnight, observed twice each month in the Hindu calendar. Over the last few months, I have grown to become incredibly fond of the deeper symbolism behind this number and this day. The 10 represents our five senses and five organs of action: the eyes wanting, the ears reacting, the tongue craving taste, the hands and feet rushing around, and the mind constantly pulled outward through experience. But what is the 11th one? The 11th is something quieter. It is the witness, the soul, the part that can step back and observe, especially on Ekadashi Vrat days. My own return to prayer began with an Ekadashi Vrat. It was Jaya Ekadashi. It was incredibly meaningful because the day is associated with steadiness in devotion. So, before I go further, I forgot to add that every Ekadashi has its own meaning. And so, Jaya Ekadashi was about steadiness in devotion and not forgetting the divine. That day marked my own return to prayer after a gap of not even bowing before God for 5 years. It became the moment I returned towards something I had lost. But today is about Mohini. In the story of Samudra Manthan, when the Devas and the Asuras were churning the cosmic ocean for Amrit, one question remained: who would receive it? It probably wouldn't have been for the best if the Asurs had gotten their hands on it and became immortal. In that moment, Vishnu appears as Mohini, an enchanting form, a temptress who redirects attention through beauty and illusion so that the nectar ultimately went to the Devas. I very much believe that Mohini still exists today. As I reflected yesterday, in my own life, Mohini appears as false importance. It's the feeling that something trivial suddenly begins to matter enormously, that this task deserves far more energy than it truly does, that if I just add more effort, more thought, more intensity, then it will finally become meaningful. I have followed that feeling many times, and it drains my energy massively. The pattern is the same. You find significance where really there is none, then you try to perfect it or intensify it, then you drain yourself, and then you detach. The significance may be false, but the exhaustion at the end is very real. Illusion doesn't always arrive as something glamorous or obviously dangerous. Often, Mohini appears as pragmatism, practicality, just a very subtle voice in your head going, you can add a little more. You have the energy for it. It would make others happy. It would make you feel more meaningful, more complete. Go on, add the extra. But these thoughts are only thoughts, they don't automatically become reality. That extra matters much more in your head than what it does in real life. I've come to realize that there is a second layer. We often overdo things because we believe we must be extra, we must be special, we must stand out. This can go as the voice in your head that says, well, extra is possible, do it. Because if you don't do it, what will you receive? Are you enough? What if someone does more and they matter more? They outshine. They will be the ones who matter. But that extra is the trap. And your nervous system actually spends real energy chasing these completely imagined marginal gains. Urgency is something I have learned to become very, very cautious with. Because the mind creates urgency, which then overrules restraint and rationality. And that urgency feels like the truth. It is Mohini. If you unclothe it, you realize that the urgency is just anxiety. Underneath it, there's something else that's driving you. Yesterday, during my Mohini Vrat, I noticed how prayer can become a container and a very powerful remedy for this sort of urgency. Inside my puja room, I realized that I have the power to break the habit of overdoing because I can do less and still remain fully worthy in the eyes of God. I can offer one flower and still not be spiritually smaller than offering 20. In fact, even in the Gita, I find that if you truly understand Dharam and you understand that it asks for you to remain steady, then you realize that true effort must also be in the right measure, not only the right intention. Because how will you remain steady if you overdo? And that's why Mohini Ekadashi feels so relevant even in 2026. I take it as an annual reminder that your worth and your effort are related in practical life, but they are not identical, and that you can produce something valuable and still not be more valuable than when you are doing absolutely nothing. I will leave you now with one very usable practice. When you feel I should add more, take a pause. First, remember, you do not become more sacred, lovable, or valuable by adding one more thing. Then ask yourself, is this being asked of me? Or am I asking this of myself? Is this sincerity or fear? If I already felt worthy, would I still do this extra step? Choose one area of your life daily. It could be in the puja room, like me. It could be a text message, a task, even a party. Intentionally stop at good enough and then let the discomfort come. That discomfort is simply withdrawal from the habit of trying to earn worth through excess. And it's a good thing because over time, your nervous system is going to learn to relax when you stop at enough. And so for me, Mohini is not always a temptress. It's not always about beauty and greed and anger and all these other emotions that we often associate with illusion. For me, the root of everything is excess, false meaning, and the rush to overdo. And Ekadashi was the day when I finally learned to see the difference. Join me in the next episode as I keep exploring these small, everyday ritual insights and what we can actually do with them.